A man decided to follow a little girl who was stealing food from his restaurant's kitchen, and when he discovered the truth behind it all, he was devastated. The rain still fell mercilessly over the streets of New Jersey that autumn night. John Smith, a middle-aged man with kind eyes and a welcoming smile, was finishing cleaning the tables in his small restaurant. The comforting aroma of homemade soup still lingered in the air, reminding him of why he loved his job, feeding people. As he wiped down the last table, a sudden movement in the corner of the room caught his attention. A skinny girl, no more than 12 years old, with tangled hair and worn-out clothes, was sneaking towards the kitchen. Intrigued, John watched in silence. The girl, thinking she was alone, quickly opened the industrial refrigerator and began stuffing pieces of bread and leftover food into a worn plastic bag. With a heavy heart, John cleared his throat softly. "Hey there, little one, are you hungry?" The girl froze, her eyes wide with fear. She clutched the bag to her chest as if her life depended on it. John raised his hands in a calming gesture. Don't worry, I'm not going to call the police. What's your name?" The girl hesitated, her eyes nervously darting towards the exit. "Lily," she finally whispered. John smiled gently. "Nice to meet you, Lily. I'm John. You look really hungry. How about I fix you a hot meal instead of those cold leftovers?" Lily shook her head vehemently. "I can't. I have to take it home. For Leo." "Who's Leo?" John asked softly, sitting down in a nearby chair to seem less intimidating. "My little brother," Lily replied, relaxing a bit. "He's sick. He needs to eat." John's heart broke a little more. "And your parents?" Lily's eyes filled with tears. "Mom works all the time. Dad, he left." John felt a wave of compassion wash over him. He slowly stood up. "Wait here a moment, Lily." He went into the kitchen, and in a few minutes, he returned with a large insulated bag. "Here," he said, handing it to Lily. "There's hot soup, fresh bread, and some sandwiches. It should last you and Leo a few days." Lily's eyes widened in surprise and gratitude. "But why?" John smiled, his eyes shining with kindness. "Because we all need help sometimes. Now go, before the food gets cold." Lily hesitated for a moment, then quickly hugged John before running out into the rainy night. John stood at the door, watching the small figure disappear into the darkness. Something in his heart told him this wouldn't be the last time he saw Lily. As he closed the restaurant, John couldn't stop thinking about the girl and her sick brother. What kind of life did they lead? Where did they live? And where was their mother? Moved by compassionate curiosity, John decided he couldn't just ignore what he had witnessed. Tomorrow, he thought, determined. Tomorrow I'll find out more about Lily and her family. Maybe, just maybe, I can do more than just offer a meal. With that thought, John turned off the lights in the restaurant, not knowing he was about to embark on a journey that would change not only his life, but the lives of many others, humans and animals alike. The sun had barely risen when John Smith left his house, determined to find answers. The streets of New Jersey, still damp from the previous night's rain, glistened under the soft morning light. John walked purposefully, his eyes alert for any sign of Lily. After hours of fruitless searching, he finally spotted a familiar figure. Lily, with her worn bag, was hurrying down the sidewalk. John followed her discreetly, his heart pounding with a mix of worry and curiosity. Lily turned onto a narrow street, arriving at a vacant lot. In the center stood an abandoned house, its broken windows covered with scraps of cardboard. John watched in astonishment as Lily entered through a gap in the fence. He approached cautiously, the sounds of children's voices reaching his ears. "Lily, did you bring food?" A boy's voice, presumably Leo, sounded anxious. "Yes, Leo. The restaurant guy gave us more last night." Lily's voice was soft, almost maternal. John felt a lump in his throat. The kids were living there in that run-down structure. He took a few more steps, the floorboards creaking under his feet. Suddenly, a dead silence fell over the house. "John?" Lily's voice sounded trembling. He took a deep breath. "Yes, Lily, it's me. Can I come in?" There was a tense pause before Lily responded. "It's okay." John entered carefully. The inside of the house was a mix of desolation and touching attempts to create a home. Old blankets served as curtains, and cardboard boxes were used as makeshift furniture. Lily stood protectively in front of a smaller boy, clearly Leo. His wide eyes were filled with fear and distrust. John knelt to their level. "Don't be afraid, I just want to help." Leo looked at Lily, confused. "Who is he, Lily?" Lily hesitated. He's the guy who gave us food, Leo." John smiled gently. "I'm glad to see you two are okay. But where's your mom?" Lily looked down. "She leaves early to sell candy. She only comes back at night." "And you stay here alone all day?" John asked, concern evident in his voice. Leo nodded. "But we have company." He pointed to a dark corner of the room. John followed the boy's gaze, and his heart nearly stopped. There, in cardboard boxes lined with rags, were several animals. A puppy with a bandaged paw, a skinny cat with tangled fur, and even a small raccoon with frightened eyes. "What's this?" John asked, surprised. Lily approached the animals, gently petting the cat. "Mom rescues them from the streets. She says no one else takes care of them." John looked around, noticing for the first time the water bowls and scraps of food scattered on the floor. The reality of the situation hit him like a punch. This family wasn't just struggling to survive, but also sacrificing what little they had to care for abandoned animals. "You give all the food to the animals?" John asked softly. Lily nodded, her eyes shining with a mix of pride and sadness. "Mom says they need it more than we do." John felt his heart break and swell with admiration at the same time. This family's compassion, even amid such adversity, was truly remarkable. He stood up, a new determination growing inside him. "Lily, Leo, you're amazing kids, and your mom. She has a huge heart, but you can't keep living like this." "What are you going to do?" Lily asked, fear creeping back into her voice. John gave a reassuring smile. "I'm going to help, all of you, and the animals, too. I just need you to trust me. Can we do that?" Lily and Leo exchanged glances, years of distrust battling against the hope John offered. Finally, Lily reached out her hand. "We can try," she said softly. As he shook Lily's small hand, John knew his life had changed forever. He didn't know how, but he would find a way to help this extraordinary family and the animals they cared for with such love. The days that followed were a roller coaster of emotions for John Smith. He split his time between running his restaurant and visiting Lily and Leo, always bringing bags of food for both the kids and the animals. With each visit, he felt his heart tighten a little more seeing the conditions they were living in. One particularly hot afternoon, John arrived at the abandoned house to find Lily sitting on the front steps, her eyes red from crying. "Lily, what happened?" John asked, kneeling beside her. The girl sniffled, trying to hold back tears. "It's Whiskers," she said, pointing inside the house. "He's not eating." John quickly went inside, finding Leo crouched next to a cardboard box. Inside, a skinny gray cat lay there, breathing heavily. "How long has he been like this?" John asked, gently examining the animal. Leo shook his head, tears shining in his eyes. "Since yesterday. Mom tried to give him water with a syringe, but..." John nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. "He needs a vet," he said softly. "But we don't have any money," Lily sobbed. "And Mom says if we take him to the shelter, they'll..." John understood the unspoken part. In many shelters, sick animals like Whiskers would have little chance. He took a deep breath, making a decision. "I'll take him to my vet friend," John said. "He'll take care of Whiskers." The kid's eyes widened with hope. "Really?" Leo asked, his voice trembling. John nodded, carefully picking up the cat. "I promise I'll do my best." As John was getting ready to leave, the front door opened. A woman walked in, her tired eyes widening at the sight of a stranger holding one of her animals. "Who are you?" "What are you doing?" she demanded, stepping protectively in front of the kids. "Mom, no!" Lily exclaimed. "This is John. He's helping Whiskers." John slowly turned to face the woman's wary gaze. "You must be Lisa," he said gently. "I'm John Smith. I've been bringing food for your kids and animals." Lisa hesitated, her eyes shifting from John to the kids and back to the cat in his arms. "Whiskers is very sick," John continued. "I'm taking him to a vet friend of mine." Lisa stepped forward, her face a mix of fear and hope. You're not going to take him to the shelter? John shook his head. No, I promise. I just want to help. Tears started to stream down Lisa's face. Why? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. Why do you care? John looked at the kids, the other animals in the house, and back at Lisa. Because what you're doing here is incredible, he said sincerely. It's hard, it's almost impossible, but it's incredible. And you shouldn't have to do it alone. Lisa covered her face with her hands, sobbing quietly. Years of struggle, fear, and loneliness seemed to collapse on her in that moment. John took a step towards her. Lisa, let me help. Not just with Whiskers, but with all of you. We can find a better way to do this. Lisa looked up, her eyes meeting John's. There was so much in her gaze, fear, distrust, but also a spark of hope she hadn't felt in years. How? She asked simply. John smiled gently. We'll figure it out together, but first, let's take care of Whiskers. Will you come with me? Lisa looked at her children, who nodded encouragingly. She took a deep breath and nodded. Okay, she said softly. Let's go. As they left the house, Whiskers nestled in John's arms and Lisa following closely with the kids, there was a palpable sense of change in the air. John didn't know exactly how, but he was determined to make a difference in this extraordinary family's life. What he didn't realize was that, in trying to save Lisa and her children, he was embarking on a journey that would change not just their lives, but his own in ways he could never have imagined. The weeks following the vet visit were a whirlwind of activity. John, driven by a determination that surprised even him, threw himself headfirst into his mission to help Lisa and her family. On a sunny morning, John arrived at the abandoned house, his arms loaded with folders and papers. He found Lisa sitting on the front steps, feeding a baby squirrel with a small syringe. Good morning, Lisa, John said with a warm smile. How's our little friend? Lisa looked up, a tired but genuine smile lighting up her face. Better every day, thanks to you. John sat down beside her, placing the papers on his lap. Not thanks to me. It's all your hard work. Lisa shook her head, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. You don't understand, John. Before you showed up, I was losing hope. John placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. Well, now we have reasons to hope. Look at this. He opened one of the folders, revealing a series of official documents. Lisa furrowed her brow, confused. What's all this? John smiled, his enthusiasm palpable. These are the first steps to making your work official. I've been researching and making contacts. I think we can start a non-profit organization to take care of these animals. Lisa's eyes widened in shock. A non-profit? But how? John started explaining, his excitement growing with each word. We could get funding, donations, build a proper shelter. You could care for the animals legally with the resources you need. Lisa listened, stunned, as John described his vision. A wildlife rehabilitation center, educational programs, partnerships with local schools and businesses. It's amazing, Lisa whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. But why would you do all this for us? John paused, looking at Lisa with seriousness. Because what you do is important. Because Lily and Leo deserve a better future. And because... He hesitated, his voice choked with emotion. Because you reminded me of what it really means to care about something bigger than ourselves. Lisa covered her face with her hands, sobbing quietly. Years of struggle and sacrifice seemed to weigh on her in that moment. John waited patiently, giving Lisa the time she needed to process everything. Finally, she looked up, her eyes red but shining with a new determination. What do we need to do? She asked, her voice steady. John smiled, relieved and emotional. First, we need to get everything organized legally. Then we'll start looking for sponsors and donations. At that moment, Lily and Leo came out of the house, their faces lighting up at the sight of John. Mr. John, Leo exclaimed. Did you bring more food for the animals? John chuckled softly. Not today, Leo. But I brought something even better. How about I tell you about the new home we're planning for you and the animals? The kids sat down, eyes wide with anticipation, as John and Lisa began sharing their plans. The air was filled with hope and possibilities. However, as he explained his vision for the future, John couldn't help but notice a fleeting shadow on Lisa's face. There was something in her eyes, a deep, rooted fear that he couldn't quite decipher. He paused in his explanation. "Is everything okay, Lisa? You seem worried." Lisa forced a smile, but John could see the tension in her shoulders. "It's nothing," she said quickly. It's a lot to take in." John nodded understandingly, but couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story than Lisa was willing to share. He made a mental note to address it later, privately. For now, he focused on the sparkle in the kids' eyes, the growing hope on Lisa's face, and the sense that they were on the brink of something truly transformative. What John didn't know was that his efforts to help this extraordinary family were about to face their greatest challenge, a challenge that would test not only his determination, but also the bonds of trust he had worked so hard to build. The sun was setting on the horizon of New Jersey, painting the sky with shades of orange and purple. John Smith walked hurriedly through the streets, his heart heavy with worry. It had been 2 days since he had last heard from Lisa and the kids, and a sense of unease consumed him. As he reached the abandoned house, John's stomach sank. The door was ajar, gently swaying in the evening breeze. "Lily? Leo? Lisa?" he called out, cautiously stepping inside. The silence that greeted him was deafening. John walked through the rooms, his heart racing with each step. The animal crates were empty, and the family's few belongings were gone. On the floor of the makeshift kitchen, a crumpled piece of paper caught his eye. With trembling hands, John unfolded it, immediately recognizing Lisa's handwriting. "John, I'm sorry. We can't go on. It's too dangerous. Please, forget about us. Lisa." John read the note over and over, disbelief and pain mixing in his chest. Dangerous. What could be more dangerous than living in these conditions? Determined to understand, John began searching the house for clues. In a dark corner, partially hidden by a loose floorboard, he found an old newspaper. The headline made his blood run cold. Animal rights activist arrested for theft and trespassing. The photo showed a younger Lisa, her eyes shining with the same passion John had seen so many times in recent months. The article detailed how she had been arrested for breaking into a research lab and freeing test animals. Suddenly, everything made sense. The constant fear in Lisa's eyes, her reluctance to trust the authorities, her almost obsessive dedication to abandoned animals. She wasn't just caring for them, she was atoning for something. John sat down on the dusty floor, his mind reeling. How could he have been so blind? How could he help Lisa now, when she clearly feared her past could ruin everything? At that moment, a faint meow caught his attention. Emerging from behind a pile of boxes was Whiskers, the cat they had rescued weeks ago. John gently picked him up, noticing a small note attached to his collar. "If you find this, take care of him." "He wouldn't have survived the trip. Thank you for everything. Tears streamed down John's face as he cradled the cat. Lisa had fled, but she had left behind a piece of her heart. It was a sign, a proof that, despite her fear, she still trusted him in some way. "So, Lisa, I won't give up on you," he whispered to the purring cat. "And I'll find you, no matter how long it takes." With Whiskers in his arms, John left the abandoned house, his mind already making plans. He knew people, had connections. He would find Lisa and the kids, and when he did, he would show her that her past didn't define her future. As he walked through the night, John made a silent promise to the stars beginning to dot the sky. He would build the sanctuary he had promised, with or without Lisa. And when it was ready, it would be a beacon of hope so bright that Lisa couldn't ignore it, no matter where she was. The road ahead would be tough, John knew that. But as he looked at Whiskers, nestled comfortably in his arms, he felt his determination renewed. This was no longer just Lisa's story. It was the story of all the helpless beings that needed a champion. And John Smith was determined to be that champion, no matter the cost. As night fell over New Jersey, John walked toward his apartment, each step echoing with a new resolve. The journey that had begun with a simple act of kindness had transformed into a life mission. And John was just getting started. The rising sun painted the New Jersey sky with soft hues of pink and gold, but John Smith barely noticed the beauty around him. His tired eyes were fixed on the road ahead, his hands gripping the wheel with determination. Beside him, a folder full of papers and a map marked with red circles were silent witnesses to months of relentless searching. John had followed every lead, no matter how small, in hopes of finding Lisa and the children. His search had taken him to neighboring towns, underground animal shelters, and activist communities. And now, he finally believed he was close. As he drove toward a small coastal town, John mentally rehearsed what he would say when he finally found them. The words seemed inadequate to express everything he felt: concern, understanding, hope. At the town's entrance, a weathered sign read, "Welcome to Hopewell Bay." John felt his heart race. This had to be the place. He parked near the dock and began walking, his eyes scanning every face that passed by. Then he heard it, a familiar laugh, as clear as a bell. Leo, turning quickly. John saw them. Lisa, Lily, and Leo were standing in front of a small candy stand, their faces lit up with smiles John hadn't seen in months. "Lisa?" John called softly, his voice trembling with emotion. Lisa's smile froze, her eyes widening in shock and fear. Lily and Leo looked from their mother to John, confusion evident on their young faces. "Mr. John?" Lily whispered, taking a hesitant step toward him. John approached slowly, his hands raised in a gesture of peace. "I'm not here to cause trouble, Lisa. I just wanted to make sure you were okay." Lisa pulled the children closer, her eyes searching for an escape route. "How did you find us?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. John smiled sadly. "You left clues, Lisa. Maybe unconsciously, but you did. Every town I visited, every animal shelter, they all had stories of a brave woman and her 2 kids helping animals in need." Tears began to form in Lisa's eyes. I couldn't stop," she admitted, "even knowing it was dangerous. I know," John said gently, "and that's why I came. Lisa, I know about your past. I found the newspaper article." Lisa gasped, pulling the children even closer. "So you understand why we had to run. If anyone found out." John took another step forward, his gaze firm and compassionate. "Lisa, what you did in the past doesn't define who you are now. Look at everything you've accomplished, all the lives you've touched, human and animal. But the law," Lisa began, but John gently interrupted. "The law can be compassionate too, Lisa. Over the past months, not only have I searched for you, but I've also worked to make our dream a reality." John opened his folder, pulling out a stack of documents. "Here," he said, handing them to Lisa. "It's official. Our animal sanctuary is a reality, and you, Lisa, are the official director." Lisa took the papers with trembling hands, her eyes scanning the words in disbelief. "How?" she whispered. "I had help," John explained. "Lawyers, understanding officials, even some of the researchers from the lab you broke into. They all agreed that your work is now much more valuable than any punishment the system could impose." Tears flowed freely down Lisa's face now. The kids, sensing the shift in the air, huddled close to her, their own eyes shining with hope. "You mean we can go back?" Lily asked timidly. John knelt to be at eye level with the kids. "Yes, Lily, if your mom wants to. We have a new home waiting for you. A place where you can care for the animals legally, with all the support and resources you need." Lisa looked at her children, at John, and back at the papers in her hands. Years of fear and uncertainty seemed to melt away in the face of the promise of a fresh start. "And if it doesn't work out?" she asked, her voice trembling. John smiled, extending his hand to her. "Then we'll face it together, as a family." At that moment, there at the small dock in Hopewell Bay, something shifted. Lisa took John's hand, Lily and Leo threw themselves into a group hug, and silent promises were made, promises of trust, perseverance, and love. Weeks later, in an emotional ceremony, the New Hope Animal Sanctuary was officially opened. Lisa, standing beside John, cut the ribbon, her hands steady and her eyes shining with a mix of gratitude and determination. As the crowd applauded, John looked around, marveling at the journey that had brought them here. What had started with a simple act of kindness had grown into something far greater than he could have ever imagined. Lily and Leo ran around the sanctuary, proudly introducing each rescued animal to the visitors. And there, comfortably nestled in a basket near the entrance, was Whiskers, the cat who had been the link between the past and the future. John felt a hand touch his arm. He turned to find Lisa smiling at him, her eyes filled with an emotion words could not express. "Thank you," she said simply, "for not giving up." John smiled back, his heart overflowing with joy. "Never," he replied. "Family never gives up." And as the sun set over the new sanctuary, painting the sky with the same colors John had seen on that fateful first night at his restaurant, he knew that this was not the end of a journey, but the beginning of an even more extraordinary one. A journey of hope, compassion, and unconditional love, both for the animals and the people who devoted their lives to caring for them. John, Lisa, and the kids' journey reminds us that compassion has the power to transform lives in unexpected ways. In a world often divided by differences, it is acts of kindness that unite and uplift us. This story isn't just about saving animals or helping a family in need. It's a testament to the power of unconditional love, perseverance in the face of adversity, and the courage to believe in a better future, even when everything seems lost. Each of us has within us the ability to be a John Smith, someone who sees beyond appearances, extends a hand to those in need, and doesn't give up, even when the path gets tough. We are all guardians of each other, capable of lighting the way through the darkness. Let this story serve as a reminder that our actions, no matter how small they may seem, can create waves of change that reach far beyond our immediate grasp. In every act of kindness, we plant a seed of hope that can bloom into a more compassionate future for all. Hello, dear listener. This is your storyteller speaking directly to you. I hope this narrative has touched your heart and perhaps inspired you to spread a little more kindness in the world. If this story resonated with you, made you smile, cry, or reflect, I'd like to ask you for something special. Please subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. Your support not only encourages me to continue sharing these stories, but also helps others find a bit of inspiration and hope in their lives. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for taking the time to dive into this journey with me. Your presence and support mean more than you can imagine. And don't forget, soon, we'll embark on another exciting adventure together. What new hearts will we touch? What new lessons will we learn? I'm looking forward to sharing more moments like this with you. Until the next story, my friend, always remember, you have the power to make a difference, one act of compassion at a time.